Here comes Oswald down the hall again.
Did you fire that rifle?
Just as fast as you people have been given, but I emphatically deny these charges.
Oswald is hustled through a doorway. He says he has nothing against anybody. He has not committed any act of violence. Oswald makes this claim as he's hustled from the interrogation room through a doorway, down an elevator, up an elevator into his jail cell.
I'd like some legal representation. These police officers have not allowed me to have any. I don't know what this is all about.
Kill the president?
No, sir, I didn't. People
How'd you get the black eye?
Sir?
Did you shoot the president?
I work in that building.
Were you in the building at the time?
Naturally, if I work in that building, yes, sir.
Back up, man. Did you shoot the president?
No, they're taking me in because of the fact that I live in the Soviet Union.
What time did you leave?
I'm just a patsy.
President?
And here comes Lee Harvey Oswald. His back is to you. You can't quite see him. His face is still...
These basic fundamental hygienic rights, I mean, like the shower and the clothes.
Before he's pushed into a door for questioning, he said he would like certain basic fundamental rights, including the right to take a shower. Now, of course, we don't know if he's deprived of this privilege that he calls a right.
Do you mind if we shout a question at him without stopping him?
No way.
All right.
The more you upset him, the more difficult it is for us
All right.
to talk.
We want to do whatever you want us to do. So if you say no questions,
If you go beyond the door.
then
Back up as far as you can against that wall. I want you to stay there.
Can we call that the second part of the interrogation?
Don't want you calling out nothing.
let's make it clear we have all agreed with the chief that we will not ask Oswald any questions.
We want to cooperate with you, gentlemen, every way in the world that we can. But if we have to, we may have to ask you to get back beyond this door and stay there.
Open. Here is Lee Oswald, the ex-Marine accused of killing President Kennedy.
We interrupted the proceedings at the White House to go to the Dallas jail. Let's throw it to Nelson Benton there.
Oswald's face is rather badly bruised. Police explained yesterday that there was a sharp scalpel when he was arrested in the Dallas theater.
Reporters back away from.
There were no questions put to Oswald by reporters. We agreed at the request of the chief of police that we would make no effort to question him here this morning.
He could say it. However, as you saw, Oswald went by and had nothing to say. He's gone into the homicide bureau.
And I walked up to the car where Mrs. Kennedy was still there on the back seat, lying there with her head bowed over, covering her husband's head, his blood running down her leg and on her clothes, and twice saying, "They've murdered my husband. They've murdered my husband."
My first thought was, they got him.
I said, my God, they're going to kill us all. My God, they're going to kill us all.
And I said, my God, they're going to kill us all. And I said, oh my God, they're going to kill us all.
And then I said, my God, they're going to kill us all.
Jacqueline Kennedy stayed close to her husband's casket during the 2-hour and 20-minute flight back to Washington. And she stayed close once Air Force One landed at Andrews Air Force Base, still wearing her blood-stained clothes. Let them see what they've done, she said.
He fired Alan Dulles, longtime Director of Central Intelligence. General Cabell is deputy. And it's interesting to recall that General Cabell was brother of the mayor of Dallas at the time President Kennedy was killed.
And John Kennedy's words when he fired him were roughly along these lines, that if this were England, I would have to go. But this is America, and you have to go. Well, General Cabell never forgave him for that, especially for causing the end of a brilliant intelligence career. And you can't help but feel that that's not totally irrelevant to the subsequent events when John Kennedy attempted to drive in an open car through the town where General Cabell's brother was mayor.
Many Dallasites kept saying it just can't be true. Mayor Earl Cabell, as he rushed away from the hospital.
Mayor, I would think that the feeling is that in the broad moral sense at least, that all of us share in what has happened here today, but this city, as you say, is not a city where things like this are done. The minority, it's a loud one, and today, this tragic thing that happens really once in a lifetime.
This is a guilt that doesn't belong to a few. This is a guilt of the nation. We're all responsible. This could only be the act of a deranged mind.
There is no question whatsoever in my mind that every possible security precaution was taken.
All possible security precautions were taken by our police force on their own.
I don't want to point my finger at anyone in a case like this.
Still, this is not the time to single out for criticism any individual or any group. Yet, the irrational act of a single man... I can't point my finger. This is no time to point fingers. This is a time of prayer and sober reflection. We all have to search our souls with reference to what we might have said or done to have brought about a calamity of this kind.
This is not a time to point the finger at anything except just the conscience of the nation as a whole.
Now the police chief in Dallas says that he was informed by the FBI last night that they interrogated Oswald 2 weeks ago in Dallas, but he does not know the results of that interrogation, why it was ordered, or, he says, or neither was he advised that the interrogation had taken place until last night.
Is there any indication from the investigation to date that would indicate motive on the part of Mr. Oswald?
So far as I know, there's no indication of it.
Are you satisfied that you've got him traced directly from the scene of the shooting to his arrest?
Yes.
Can you account
well,
for all
now, wait. You mean from the scene of the presidential assassination?
Yeah, to the time.
No, we haven't got all of it.
How much time is involved in there? How big a lapse of time?
Roughly 45 minutes, I believe.
And you still don't know. He doesn't have a car. It's too far to walk.
I understand that he does not have a car.
Do you have anything other than circumstantial evidence right now?
Well, we have some physical evidence.
Can you tell us anything about that physical evidence?
No, sir, I wouldn't. I don't think I should discuss that.
Do you feel that this case is proceeding as efficiently as you would like it to proceed, or are some doubts beginning to grow as to whether this, in fact, is the man?
No doubts are beginning to grow, but it's a very difficult investigation.
Are the resources being applied to this investigation adequate, in your opinion?
Yes.
Would you describe them for us?
We're just using all means possible in the scientific investigations. Of course, these are interrogation and scientific, other scientific aids outside of physical evidence and any other means that we have.
Is he a member of any Communist front organization?
That I can't say at the present time.
Any organizations that he belongs to that you know of?
Well, the only one I mentioned was the Free Cuba Movement, or whatever that... Fair Play for Cuba, I believe was that.
Why do you think he would want to kill the president?
The only thing I do is take the evidence presented to the jury, and I don't pass on why he did it or anything else. We're just interested in proving that he did it, which I think we have.
The suspect will be interrogated some more. At the same time, all the loose ends will be tied together in one neat package.
This adds one to the case for conspiracy then, and the Dallas police are apparently trying to add another.
No, we're still working on the evidence. This has been a joint effort by the Secret Service, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Dallas Police Department, the Dallas Sheriff's Office, my office, and Captain Will Fritz has been in charge of it.
We want to say this, that this investigation has been carried on jointly
by the FBI, the Secret Service, the Rangers, and the Dallas Police Department. Captain Fritz has been in charge.
No. He's in charge of what, will you have a further statement of any kind?
Well, not necessarily, no.
Captain Fritz, is he showing any sign at all of cracking?
No, I couldn't say about that.
Captain Will Fritz, the chief interrogator of Lee Oswald here at the Dallas County Police Station.
How far back have you been able to trace it?
I wouldn't want to
Was it Ford in town, for instance?
I wouldn't want to talk about that right now. Thank you.
Did you talk to him? Do you know who was the bus driver?
Yes, sir. We know the bus driver. Yes, sir.
What does he say about Russia?
This interview is being conducted with Captain Will Fritz, chief of the Dallas Homicide Squad. Mr. Fritz enjoys a reputation, one of the finest interrogators, not only in the state of Texas, but in the Southwest. He's been working constantly on Lee Oswald, but as he himself says, he feels no closer to a confession now than he did before. This, of course, is nothing detrimental to the captain. It does say something about the determination of Lee Oswald.
Sir?
He said he was.
He's been more cooperative. What did he talk to you about? He hasn't admitted anything.
Whatever you...
I mean, has he given you any story at all about his movements or his feelings in this thing? He has, sir?
Did he make fingerprints on the guy? I wouldn't want to talk about the prints. And,
without going into the evidence, before first talking to the district attorney, I can tell you that this case is cinched. That this man killed the president. And there's no question in my mind about it.
Captain Will Fritz, the chief of detectives in Dallas, told newsmen earlier today, we have the case cinched. Captain Fritz would not go into detail on evidence which makes him come to this conclusion.
Well, I am presently in the basement of the Dallas Municipal Building, and it is like an armed camp. For the past half hour, scores of police have been filing past me, carrying riot guns and rifles. Police officials are frankly worried. They don't want anything to happen to Oswald.
Thank you, Bill. We have other remote facilities at the county jail now, awaiting the arrival of Lee Oswald from the city jail to the county jail. And for the situation there now, here is ABC's Roger Sharp reporting.
At the scene of last Friday's assassination, this is a curious crowd. No obvious anger in their faces, but all possible security precautions have been taken. Policemen are stationed at every 15 feet along the entire block. From inside the courthouse compound, the motor entrance to the county sheriff's office, our cameras will show the approach of the car that will carry Lee Harvey Oswald into the courthouse building.
We're inside the county courthouse, which the presumed assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, is soon to enter. He'll be taken immediately to a booking room, and a very historic booking will be made. Next, into an ID room, where he'll be photographed and fingerprinted. And then, representatives of the press will have their first opportunity for a real front-to-front confrontation. Now, our big television cameras can't fit in that room, but we'll shoot that on sound film, and just as soon as that's processed, you'll be able to see it.
The shot fired said it was fired by a man wearing a black hat, a brown coat, a man that everyone down here thought was a Secret Service agent.
is the basement floor of the Dallas City Hall.
More caution and protection has been used for this man than anything had ever been seen in the city of Dallas, probably more than had been used to protect the President of the United States. In fact, Dallas City Hall is normally a public building, but today it was really under armed guard.
Jack.
An ambulance apparently had been standing by in case of emergency. It was rushed up, and Oswald put into it, taken to Parkland Hospital. Dean said, one man up there said that the suspect, Ruby, was mumbling as officers seized him. So far.
Lee Oswald is currently undergoing surgery for a single gunshot wound that entered on his left side and did not exit. The patient is in extremely critical condition. Dr. Shires will make a personal statement when the surgery is completed.
Mr. Landrigan, you indicated that you had made some preparations for this eventuality.
As I said, our job is to be prepared. We had received word that there was quite a crowd down there, and on the possibility that there might be some type of disorder, we had alerted our emergency room to be prepared.
Some additional information we found out is that early this morning, according to a Dallas police officer, they received the following call. Quote, "I don't want any problems. I don't want any policemen to get hurt. But there's one group that's going to get, when we leave a word out, that man," referring to Oswald, "when he is transferred." This call reportedly came in early this morning.
There was a possibility they would, but they...
Were they ready to bring him down here?
Yeah, they're outside of the courthouse where a crowd of several hundred had gathered, awaiting the arrival of Lee Harvey Oswald. 10 blocks away at City Hall, that arrival stopped by apparently a bullet. This crowd, when word flashed through the crowd that Oswald had been shot, broke out into a cheer. The crowd has been dispersing for the past 5 minutes, many of them just getting the news. What's your reaction to hearing that suspect Oswald has been shot down?
Well, I can't hardly say what right now, but I think that people wanted a quick decision on his execution and get him put away.
Also here in the studio, WFAA News Director Bob Walker. Bob, what's new?
Just learned from City Hall from a very authoritative source that police are working on the assumption that there indeed is a connection between Jack Ruby and Lee Oswald, and that in some manner of speaking, Oswald's murder was to shut him up. Also, they have said that they will not release in the immediate future at all any of the information the FBI has gathered which led them to believe so strongly that Oswald had assassinated the president. But the police and investigation now is working on the assumption that there is a definite connection between Lee Oswald and Jack Ruby, and the attempt and the successful attempt on Oswald's life was an attempt to shut him up. This word from a reliable source at City Hall.
Adding, Bob, I might that have taken place in Dallas the past few days would certainly indicate that there were no clear-cut defining points involved in the initial assassination. Now this only compounds it. It will be remarkable to find, when the story is eventually known, what actually did happen. We understand that an Assistant Attorney General from Washington, Jack Miller Jr., is en route to Dallas to confer with federal agents here and the Dallas City Police.
Did Jack Ruby say how he got into the basement here today?
He didn't tell me that.
Why did he say he had planned it for a while, Captain?
Some of those things I can't answer for you, and he, of course, has talked to an attorney, and there's certain things that he don't want to tell me.
What happened here today was absolutely impossible, according to police and according to newsmen. The area was very secure. There were police in every possible corner. Yet this ring of security was broken by a man who lunged out between photographers and shot the man who was accused of killing the president. He's going to be taken upstairs to the jail. They've opened the door and he's going to the jail elevator. This is the first interrogation down here on the 3rd floor by members of the homicide squad. Again, this scene very similar to scenes we've seen before, repeated yesterday and the day before.
You are one of Ruby's lawyers. Perhaps you will defend him in this case. I understand that you received a call from your wife at home?
Yes, sir. The police detective told me how he knew it. I don't know, that I had been threatened, and I just talked with my wife.
And what did you tell her?
Betty, and Betty told me she was crying and said that she had received 2 calls that I would be next to die.
From the same person?
Oh, she doesn't know. She said it.
Voice?
It's in a foreign voice, yes.
And what did you tell her?
I told her to get the baby and get out of the house. 9 years old.
Was it a man calling?
Yes.
A man calling both times?
We discussed the case to this extent that I advised him of his rights and what he should do and should not do, and he said he would follow my instructions to the best of his ability.
Are you worried about his safety?
Well, a man would have to be worried about his safety after the things that have happened here in the last 2 or 3 days.
Lawyer Tom Howard, interviewed by ABC's Bill Lord. We understand that he has been selected as at least one of the defense counselors to serve for Jack Ruby, who has already been formally charged with first-degree murder in the death today of Lee Harvey Oswald. These events, these bizarre, frightening, strange, unbelievable events, have overshadowed somewhat another major story in Dallas.
Possibility, Mr. Howard, that there was some connection between Oswald and Ruby, that they had met or knew each other?
There is that wild rumor going around. So far as I know and so far as I am concerned, I don't think there's a bit of truth in that.
A performer at Mr. Ruby's club said that he thought he saw Oswald there some days ago.
I think he was mistaken.
This is a memory expert. Or a person who does that kind of a performance.
In what cases have you represented Mr. Ruby in the...
Is it true?
Have you seen the map the Dallas Morning News says was found by the police?
No, I haven't.
One more question, Mr. Howard. Is it true that Mr. Ruby may have left certain personal effects like identification and money in his car? Yesterday, the car was found in a parking lot adjacent to police headquarters.
He could have. I don't know.
Mr. Howard, you say that you have had some support evidenced in your defense of Ruby. Have you had any adverse telephone calls or anything such as that?
Had one crank call, you know, the kind you get in cases like this.
To what effect?
Oh, something about the hate group's going to get you or something like that. You expect those things in cases
Mr. Howard,
like
does
this.
he realize that what he's done perhaps create a question for the rest of history, who killed President Kennedy?
Well, can you explain why during his presence here prior to the shooting, he must have been within close proximity of Oswald, but apparently then never showed any emotional outbursts or never said anything? He was here at times when it is believed that Oswald would have passed him by. He was around a group of people. Did this build up, this emotional...
I'm sure it's built up over a period of several days.
I'm going to represent him in the manner that I think is for his best interest.
What is his best interest?
And now the headliner of our show, direct from New Orleans. Ladies and gentlemen, Jada!
Jada, how long did you know Jack Ruby?
I knew Jack Ruby for approximately 4, 5, 6 months.
In what relationship?
I was employed as the feature at the Carousel Club, and I had known Jack before I went to work there, and I had a slight hassle with Jack, and I had left, and that was the end of my association with Jack.
What about politics? Did he seem interested in politics, particularly regarding the Kennedys?
I have heard Jack talk about the Kennedys, and I've been trying to think, and it's so confusing today, but I believe he disliked Bobby Kennedy.
No recollection of what he had ever said about the president?
Yes, he followed that statement up about Bobby with something about Jack Kennedy, but I can't, for the minute, just form it in my mind.
Do you think that Jack Ruby is a type of man that was capable of killing the assassin of President Kennedy out of love for Kennedy, out of political motives?
I don't think he loved Kennedy that much. I don't know why he would do it. I'd say he would be perfectly capable of an act like that. Very much so.
But the reasons for it, those are hard to pin down, as the portrait of Jack Ruby emerges piece by piece. This is For Good, ABC. You understand that the city officials of Dallas, the city police officials, Police Chief Jess Curry, and federal agents are meeting at this hour at the chief's office and are awaiting the arrival from Washington of a key Justice Department official, apparently to piece together the strange facts and the multitude of rumors and suspicious
Do you
stories.
think it was unusual for Jack Ruby to be in that crowd?
I don't pass on that. Unusual to be in that crowd? I don't. Well, I haven't been here since last night, so I don't know anything about deliberate
The story that Oswald and Ruby were previously appointed.
I think I heard it on radio or something, but I don't know anything about it.
Did we have a chance to talk to Ruby?
I have not talked with. No, sir, I've not talked with either one of them.
Well, will we get a chance to talk to him or see him?
I don't know anything about that. This was entirely about going over the evidence that I thought some of you would want.
You know Ruby before this?
No, sir. Saw him in this very same room Friday night when we had the defendant up here.
There was a steak party for the Texas Bar Association in the Adolphus Hotel. Were you there?
No, sir, I wasn't there. As a matter of fact, if some of you will recall, he asked a question from out here in the audience, or answered a question. He's standing right back here, and I didn't know who he was. I thought he was a member of the press, and he told me as we walked out of here that he was a nightclub operator here.
What question did he ask?
What?
What question did he ask?
I don't remember, but maybe it was an answer, but he said something.
Remember it was Friday night when I asked you to do an interview with me on the phone, and you had another call, and Ruby was hanging around in the background. You were on the phone, and I said, and then you had to go away, and I asked Ruby, because he seemed to me like a detective. He seemed to be all over this place. I said, would you see if you could get him on the phone over to here now? And he went around, and he got you, and he brought you over to my telephone.
It might have been where he told me who he was. I didn't know who he was either. When I think someone here answered that question in that he answered a question. Somebody asked something, and he answered it back there, and I don't know what it was. I think it was some question about a street or an address or a name or something.
You look to me like you're a good friend. I don't know what
Conspiracy, Watson. If you knew the true facts, you'd be amazed at it. In what way? It'll be proven in a few days later what the charges will be filed against me, plus the fact of the assassination. A complete conspiracy against me, Watson.